Hey guys, and welcome back to the Independent Investor channel. It's so good to be with you. My name is Ryan. On this particular channel, we talk about stock investing, we talk about wealth preservation, we talk about tax shelter of folks' money, and we're looking to aim our message at newer investors that are starting out. If I could have went back and gave myself advice 20 years ago, this is exactly the advice that I want to hear. So pay particular attention. If you haven't previously tuned into any of my other videos about where the how and the why to invest, certainly go back and check out some of those previous lessons. And there's a little bit to be taken away in each of my presentations. The information is free of charge. I do these videos for you guys. I certainly don't have to. But I choose to do it because I hope that if we can empower one investor at a time, we're getting our message out there. And it's amazing to me how many people I speak with out there that are in dire need of this information, at least to know the ins and outs of what people's options are. Right now, people are extremely deficient in what they think they know about the market, or think, usually folks' understanding starts and ends with going and sitting down with a financial planner and allowing your money to go into a financial institution, only to be put to be put to sleep, quite frankly, for the rest of its life. And not really know what the cost sharing impact of doing that type of investing is going to mean. And if you just understood a little bit more about empowering yourself to keep all those chips on your side and not being forced to have to share that with either a financial institution or to share it with the federal government when it comes time to retirement age, you'd be that much more set up to enjoy much more of a fruitful retirement, and furthermore to just keep a lot of what you've earned over the course of your life in your wheelhouse and not have to share that with anybody else. This particular video is going to be talking about forms of money. Okay, when I talk to young investors or folks that are just looking to get involved in the market, a lot of people look at a point A and a B approach. What I mean by that is money comes in and money goes out. Money comes in and money goes out. Looking at forms of money is much more complex. The problem with it is, an 18-year-old, to 30-year-old, you're just starting to kind of understand the impact of money, and you're starting to get the idea of what different forms of money can be put to use, or what forms of money go for naught or go for waste. Especially if you've got a credit card and you've got into trouble earlier on in your life, you can understand what dealing on the wrong side of zero, negative % interest rate can impact. And it's really, really unfortunate. We want to try to teach sound financial principles as early as possible. You're not going to hear me talk about the Ramsey approach to investing, and that you need to eat pinto beans every night, right? And eventually you're going to be a millionaire because you haven't properly fed yourself your entire life. Furthermore, you're also not going to hear me talk about credit being a bad thing. Credit used properly is actually a phenomenal thing. All right. And there's a lot of videos online about people talking about how to get a 700 credit score. I'm not really sure I understand that. My credit score is 825, and I've done so by holding credit accounts and keeping those accounts paid off over time, and keeping those balances close to a minimum, and just keeping that credit available to myself. So a little bit different approach to the holistic financial picture. And I think with just some sound responsibility, you can kind of understand how it is that you can take, what we all recognize as the form of money, and understand the power of each of the three categories that I've got up here with regard to the different forms of money. When I look at this right here, I see one thing and one thing only, okay? And every single time I look at this, I see the same form in any time I see what it is that I'm showing you guys. And what it is that I see is a piece of paper. No more, no less. I see a piece of paper, all right? It's what I do with that piece of paper that will define what form that I want that piece of paper to take on. Okay, so pay particular attention to this lesson. I think a lot of people dabble in forms of money, but I think unfortunately they dabble in the latter two categories instead of giving themselves the opportunity to experience all the different forms of money. Okay, and there's no one category that's any more right than the next. Okay, it's just that, you know, what percentage of your particular budget is going to what certain category, and only you and you alone can define what it is you'll take the paper dollars that you have coming in to those accounts and what particular forms you want to put those in. Maybe you've just had children or you want to have children and we want to put this into a 529 college plan for your children. So you see how we take the form of money, the paper itself, and turn it into a potential college funding account for your children. Okay, perhaps maybe you want to do what I talk about a lot on this show, and that's start the account, right, and take on this form of paper toward financial security for your retirement account. So you see the difference in taking it from a general piece of paper and choosing what form it is that you want to basically transition those fundings for. And for those of you that have a monthly income coming in and those dollars are coming into the account, it's really kind of hard sometimes to appreciate, you know, the form of money, because a lot of days nowadays I don't even carry money on me. This is really no use to me. I'm a subject for robbery if I'm carrying any more than $100 in my wallet, and quite frankly I can get anything that I need done with plastic. I don't need dollars. But sometimes we lose track of the direct deposit into those accounts, the checking account, for example, of our funds, and we don't have a proper acknowledgement of the forms of money that we want those dollars to take on. For example, we don't have a really sharp budget in that when those dollars come in, when my money comes in to my checking account, it's gone in 5 minutes. And what I mean by it's gone is I already know what forms I want that every 2-week allocation, or if you're paid every month, I know what form I want those to take on. For example, the bills, the sunken cost, the investment and the retirement vehicles, all right? So I already know ahead of time before I'm even paid, and a lot of people are more reactive than proactive on their specific budgets. So if you can just be a little bit proactive before you get those dollars that are coming in, and you're tempted to take them and just, take the inflow and outflow perspective, living paycheck to paycheck. The money comes in, you blow it down until you have nothing, and then you're waiting to the next paycheck. Sitting back and really understanding what category of forms of money you are participating in from month to month to month can really kind of help you identify some segments of your own personal budget that you may want to tweak a little bit, and get those funds kind of allocated so you can get that small segment of paying yourself first. All right. So the first thing up here is appreciating assets. All right. You need to understand that category number 1, appreciating assets, is the hardest category for people to play in. And here's why. You have the hardest time taking this money, okay, this paper, and imagining it as a share of stock, for example, or you have a problem imagining it buying a piece of real estate. Okay, when most of us go out and they buy a house, they're seeking that financial backing from a financial institution, and they're paying an astronomical interest to purchase that asset. But it's somewhat more justifiable because a lot of us that are just working class folks, we don't have the money. We may have a small down payment to put down, but we don't have $250,000 or $300,000 to just go out and purchase an asset. All right. But a lot of us have a hard time thinking about trying to take our hard-earned dollars and turning it into an appreciating asset. And pay particular attention in the appreciating assets category. There are very few appreciating assets. For example, there's very few things that you can actually take your dollars and turn this $100 as a month goes by or as a year goes by into, let's say, $102.50 on a 2.5% interest rate, right? There's very few things, all right, that you can take and put away and actually accumulate more money, all right? All right, but the very first thing, and the thing we talk about all the time on this show, is the ability to buy stock and have that stock pay you back dividend payments and also capital appreciation. For example, the stock goes up, all right? So very few things kind of fit into this category one. Real estate, rare art, and vintage autos fall into this very first category, and there are others too. There are gold, silver, those are appreciating assets. However, I don't consider gold and silver an investment. I actually consider them a buffer, all right? But most people, I find, deal with money in categories 2 and 3. Depreciating assets, okay? Your car is a depreciating asset. Your clothing is a depreciating asset. Sorry to tell you. Most everything you buy in way of clothing yourself or taking care of yourself or buying toys for the children, in most cases, all right, play with me a little bit, will depreciate over time, all right, and give it the truth test, all right? If you're going to buy it brand new and eventually it's going to end up in your garage sale for 25 cents. That's what I mean by depreciating assets, okay? Now, the third category is sunken cost. If you understand sunken cost, these should be the very first things that you're looking at your overall budget and taking out. For example, food, gasoline. Those are the two best examples I can give of sunken cost. Now, each and every person is different. If you put clothes into the sunken cost category, that's up to you. But I'm talking about things that are necessary for basic survival, okay? You have to be able to get to work to earn a paycheck. If it's public transportation that is your sunken cost, so be it. If it is, food by nature of ordering the food in, or it's going to the grocery store, those things have to be pieced out of the budget because we have to be able to take care of ourselves. Other sunken costs, such as medical insurance and dental insurance, can also be a sunken cost. I could justify those things being in the basic survival category for most people, and I would expect that you would do so as well. But I think the trick here is to differentiate between your sunken costs and your depreciating assets, because if you do that, I think you can find that one of these categories can actually be reduced, which can allow you to operate in category 1 more than most people are willing to operate, all right? Now, when we talk about forms of money, all right, hopefully this lesson just kind of gets you thinking about more than just the inflow and the outflow of money, all right? I'm trying to condition new investors. If you're 20 years old out there and you have the hard time looking at this piece of paper and justifying one share of stock in Disney, all right, we've got some work to do. Because what I said about seeing just only a piece of paper there was only partially true. When I look at this, I have a very, very in-depth way of understanding the power of that form of money, all right? By taking that and putting that into assets to try to operate in the forms of money under appreciating assets as much as I possibly can. And I know there's a lot of young folks out there that are making killer incomes, $50,000 to $100,000 starting out. If you're in the six-figure category, guys, you have no excuse other than to be getting this money tagged away and tax sheltered and wealth appreciating for yourself. You have no excuse. Unfortunately, you may not have as deep of an appreciation for the different forms of money, and you've got all this funny money to play with, and unfortunately you're working in the inflow and the outflow realm instead of just taking that step back and properly looking at getting some of that money up here in the appreciating asset category for yourself and most importantly for your future. And looking into the future and understanding that at some point in your future you're going to be 30, 40, 50, 60 years old and eventually looking at retirement. Those are the hard justifications that we want to look at, certainly as young as we possibly can in our lives, to justify piecing out these different forms of money and not being afraid to act upon those and realizing those different forms of money. And that'll allow us to play in all of three different categories of the form of money. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please share the link with anybody that you know could benefit from the information. I know there's a lot of folks out there that are just looking to start out in the investing world. Hit me up with your questions at the bottom of the video. Give me some topics that you want to look at. We want to keep this kind of close to the vest. We're not talking about, which magic stock out there to buy, which one, or I'm not looking to, wave a magic wand for you and magically get to you to a 7-figure retirement. All right. These are real, practical approaches that anybody can take to start out building a foundation for your own financial future. All right, so hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button so you're notified of any future videos that I put out. All right, and thank you so much for joining, and good luck in your financial future.